Any, what's coming up for you when we talk about knowing when to leave?
So much is coming up for me. Oh, well, it's like when there's no manual, no one hands you a manual, like, this is when it's time. It's really about knowing yourself, and we don't, in the beginning, that's part of our exploration, is that we don't know when to leave. So we get to get back to our yes and no, as you've been teaching, Steena. Like, what is even a boundary? Like, when I'm connected with myself and I feel that, mm, and that's very individual how that turns out for you, as you've been teaching, Steena. Like, to get to know myself, and when nope, this is not the place for me, this is against my values, or it's just not in alignment with who I am. And trust myself to know when that is. What comes up for me is that there's a lot of guilt for me, if when I keep thinking to myself that I should have known better. I should have left earlier. Like, this, it was without dignity what was going on in the relationship and in the marriage that I was in. And part of part of the exploration is understanding that I get to forgive myself for what I didn't know before I learned it. So once I drop that shame and understand that I always do my best, I always do my best to make conscious decisions and choices with information and the understanding that I have, and especially in regards to my children. Um, when I come from that place of acceptance, it really becomes a learning opportunity that I'm not beating myself up to, like, I should have left, I should have done that. Well, okay, what is I get to learn from this, and I get to know myself from this experience, so that when I enter another, it's not just marriage, as you were also talking about, it's an organization. Like, we we have a relationship to the organization that we're currently with, or a friendship, or a project. Like, there are so many situations when we become invested, and uh, we learn from every experience where our boundaries are. Um, and there's also, like, trust, as you were talking about, Steena. Like, what am I ready to invest? What resources do I have? And also, like, do I trust the other person to do their part? Because part of this is also letting go and understanding that I'm not alone determining results in this. So do I trust this other person to do their part? And when the answer is no, let's just accept that. It doesn't mean that we don't love them. It's not about that. It's not about whether you love a person or not. It's just accepting what is, and making conscious decisions grounded in reality, grounded in what a person is actually choosing and doing. Yeah, I could continue. I love this topic. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was so good, Jenny. Thank you for going deeper on this topic and bringing up such valuable points, and certainly around trust and boundaries. And I know that as I have explored my boundary work more and been deeper into that transformation process, I've really learned how much it serves me better to have healthy boundaries in place. And it reminds me of another quote. Maybe you've heard this one before. about, it's just so empowering to say, this isn't serving me, and walk away in peace. I don't know that we hear those messages very often when we're younger. I think I know for myself, I've heard these messages later in life. And I too, Jenny, spent many years in guilt and shame. And it wasn't until I discovered more forgiveness, and specifically forgiveness to myself first and then to others, that I've been able to open up to the idea of those healthy boundaries and how those boundaries protect me. And that's okay. Um, yeah, just prior to doing my boundary work, I used to see it as this hard and fast rule that I was not comfortable with. I had to do some deeper learning and exploring about how boundaries are very healthy for us, and that we are really teaching others how to value us when we put those gentle but firm boundaries in place. And certainly when it comes to relationships.